Well, here we are again. We're marching down memory lane, walking down. The marching is part of what's behind me here. Today, we won't be talking about music, even though it seems apparent that we are in the midst of an orchestra. No, instead we're going to talk about another art, visual art, in very many different kinds of modes, because over the years at LifeQuest, as I understand it, art lessons have been an important part of the curriculum. And you folks have been involved in it either as instructors or as students. And I would like to be able to sort out among you who does what. So let me start with the instructors. Someone who has been instructing, tell me a little bit about when you got started, why you got started, and
our oldest instructor, or most long-time instructor, would be Tom Herrin.
All right, Tom, tell me how to get started with you.
I can't remember. Sorry. No, someone asked me to come and teach a watercolor class. And I said, okay, great, I'd love to do that. I didn't have a notion of what that meant or who would be there or anything else. A lot of the people that were there, though, when I got to the class, were people that I knew and had known for a long time. People who were members of the Mid-Southern Watercolor Association, which I was also a member of and later became president of. And so it was just, for me, a place to go and learn something about some people and have a good time. Pretty much it was a good time overall. Everybody had a lot of fun. We painted some paintings and a lot of serious work was done and some beautiful paintings resulted from our being there teaching a class. And I didn't interfere too much with the students. I just let them do their thing, and they were really good artists, almost all of them. So we had a good class.
Well, was this a vocation for you or
No,
avocation?
I was a bureaucrat before I retired. I worked for Governor Bumper's staff, and then I later worked for Governor Pryor's staff. I worked for President Clinton's staff when he was governor for 2 weeks. But that was okay. I was fine. So I was a retired consultant. My background is in urban and regional planning. A lot of people will say, well, why are you in Arkansas doing urban planning? Well, it's a great place to live, and it's city is a wonderful city, and it's where I wanted to be.
All right, well, all right. We've heard about a teacher. Have any of you taken classes with him?
Yes, I have.
Tell me, what's the experience? Is he good?
Yes, he's a very good artist, and we learned something too. But he's right. There are a lot of people in that class that are really, really good artists, and so you're walking into a place where everybody can paint. So it's a hugely popular class. It would be it's a 20 limit because of space. And it would always go over that. And there would always be people, really close friends of mine, that would not get in the class. Mm-hmm. So it became a big issue, somewhat, when you couldn't get in the class. But Tom had that deal too. Every time it's full, it's 20 people in there and some left over. So because it is such a popular class. And like my own personal opinion or whatever, that's all I ever wanted to do was watercolor. I have no interest in any of the other mediums, just simply because, and I never painted till I was retired. So, I've been in LifeQuest for 16, 17 years, but that's from retirement on, so I never painted before. And I do think watercolor maybe is a little easier to get into. However, I did spend a lot of money because the teacher that was teaching at that time insisted on certain things, and I did have to spend a lot of money. But I'm so grateful. She was such a great teacher, and she taught my first 6 years, so we were lucky.
Good. Did you
I was
have-
going to say, we did find a place for the people that didn't get in. We opened another class that we called Water Media, and it was more loosely structured, and it accommodated the people who were more learners, beginning, because they both mentioned a lot of accomplished people were in that class, but not everyone has had experience. And so we started a second watercolor or water-based class for people who wanted to learn how to do watercolor. So I like the way that LifeQuest meets needs as we see them, expands program. The program, I've only been there 8 years, but the program has expanded quite a lot since then. We added sculpture, we added pastels, we added acrylic, so it's a moving thing and a growing thing as we see more need. And a lot of the people who come in, Denise is one of the best examples. I always use her as the person who came in. She never picked up a paintbrush. And within the first year, she was doing these amazing works. And now her stuff is just really high quality, and it's just been a joy to watch her thrive.
Thank you.
So you talk about your experience coming in as a beginner.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear about that.
Well, like Anne said, I've never painted before. I grew up and went to school in England, London, England, and painting or art as such was not part of the curriculum. So, I did not have that background. When I retired, or semi-retirement, when I had time, I thought I'd try my hand at it because it's something I was interested in. And I started out with doing watercolor with David Paul at the Art Center. I did that for a couple of summer sessions. And while doing that, I met someone who was involved at LifeQuest, and he told me about the program because I knew nothing about it. I told him then that I was interested in doing oil painting. And he said, well, you can come to, it was expensive at the Art Center. So he told me, the price that, at Life Center was just $65. And I thought, okay, I'll go check that out. And that was back in 2014. And I became a fan. I've tried my hand. I did a couple of sessions with watercolor during that time at LifeQuest. But I also did oil painting, do watercolor in the morning and oil painting in the afternoon. I did that for 1 year, and then I switched over to strictly oil painting, and part of that was a restriction because my husband developed health issues, and I didn't have as much free time anymore, so I couldn't do as much as I'd love to do. If it's up to me, I'd be painting 2 days a week, every week. But, that's how I started. And as Anne said, I was really surprised. I surprised myself at how well I was doing in it. I've also tried my hand at the sculpture class for one session. And there again, because of limitations, I couldn't continue. And I did one session of drawing also, so I'm very much
Basic
into it.
drawing,
basic.
what, with
Yeah.
charcoal or?
Well, it was mostly pencil.
Pencil.
It's the,
Oh, yeah.
the class downstairs. I can't think of the.
So I hear of several different media that are involved. Tell me more. It might be a nice idea as you first speak to introduce who you are so that the people who might be watching this will say, I thought that was. So
I'll speak.
Let
I'm
me
Jenni
ask.
Duncan, and I think I might have started classes even when I still worked here before I went on leave, and then and I could get off Wednesday afternoon and go to the oil painting studio, which was no teacher, but just people. You take your painting and say, what's wrong with this? Why does it look, crooked or something? And another painter could help you. But then later I got in oil painting, acrylic, the oil and acrylic like Clarence has taught, and recently pastels. Because it was on Zoom. I don't know if I would have ever tried it without that, but I love it. And all the things that those instructors helped with composition, I would just paint what was in a photo, and it would look kind of odd because the composition wasn't good, and the instructors taught how to fix that.
Clarence he brings in to paint, and he brings in these horrible pictures. and we look at him and we go, we're going to what? And then he goes, oh, well, that tree won't go in, and no, we'll have to move this over here.
Yeah.
And, and all of a sudden here's this gorgeous picture. So Clarence is the wonderful at teaching us how to see.
How encouraging all the instructors, all the students and the instructors, and I took a while to build some confidence. But all of them have been so encouraging to help you keep learning, keep going, and I have learned a lot
as well.
Yes,
Right.
The studio aspect.
You were in the
of the
pastel
group.
class?
this past time.
Yeah, we did. I taught pastel. I'm Clarence Cash. I taught pastel on Zoom for the first time. A big experience for me since I'm not very technical. But I think it went well, and you were
we
one
got
of
to
the
meet your
students.
dog too.
That's right. I had my doggy in the studio. But I teach for the last 7 years or so. I've been teaching at LifeQuest, primarily oil painting. Wonderful students, some beginners, some intermediate students, but it's been a wonderful experience. And
is there ever any occasion when, there's a judge who says, oh, I like that one?
Well,
are there prizes?
when I'm teaching, I'm the judge.
You're the judge.
So, we might want to bring a judge in sometime, but we have some beautiful work that comes from students, and I really do enjoy the students, and many of them come back for more punishment.
And I would say, as one of Clarence, he has this beautiful legal mind that I think organizes things so well. And so as a teacher, in my head, Clarence says, every time, no matter what art I'm approaching, I have Clarence in my head telling me how he would just rules.
Well, that's
Clarence
very
rules.
nice. Thank you for
and
that.
that it really gives you a framework, especially when you don't come from an artist background, to have somebody that's kind of organized how you go about looking at something, how you find shapes, you put your shapes in, and then go from there, has really taught me
That's
so
great.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you for those comments.
Yeah.
When I grew up, schools did not have art classes like you said. And I know there was a lot of students in high school that would have benefited from back then, and I'm talking in the 50s, of course, the sports program had lots of funds, and that's where I guess if there were any funds available, it went to the sports, but there was nothing available for art and other important programs that I think would have been important. Later in college, I was able to take some art lessons, and then after college, I went off into a career and didn't have time with my family, taking care of the family. So I waited, and in the last 10 years, I have been taking courses and studying with some other artists. Bruce Peel down in Texas, I've made various trips to Bruce Peel's studio. He lives out in the country, and I've learned so much, and I hope that my students now benefit from my using some of the information. I'm always giving Bruce Peel quotations. He says, paint what you know, not what you think. Oh, paint what you see, not what you think you know. And we painted down there a lot on site, which is plein air painting. But we paint painted in studio as well from photographs. But again, paint what you see, not what you think you know. And I keep hitting that nail on the head, and it's so important because the image, if you can learn to interpret the image and create the mystique of the painting and learn to think about the values that go into the various shades of color and shades of light in the painting, you really can come out with something. And most of these students have done beautiful work. All of them.
Just a little plug, Clarence will be teaching oil acrylic class this fall for anybody watching who wants to sign up.
Well, I hope they'll.
Glad you added that in.
And it will be in person. We have been online up until, over this past couple of semesters. And in the fall, we are going to have a small group of in-person classes, one of which will be Clarence doing doing oil, sorry. He did pastel online. He's so multi-talented, it's hard to keep up.
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
On that point that Clarence made about interpretation, what has always fascinated me is how, of the whole class, the different interpretations you have of that one same image. It's just fascinating how the eyes see it so differently.
I wondered about that, whether you as a student get to select your subject, or is it assigned to you?
Either one.
Either one, yeah.
And so
Is that right?
sometimes, you can come to class and work on a project that you've been working on. And then the instructor is there to assist you completing your project, whereas the majority of the class is working on what the instructor has presented as the picture for that day. But it's not, you're not married to that. If you come with something you want to work on, the instructor will help you during class time as well. So
Which is really helpful, because sometimes, something I'm painting at home, I just can't get over some hurdle.
Right.
And Shelley Gentry was teaching right before we shut down for the pandemic, and one time she had said, email me anytime with your painting. And I did email. I worked on something that included a face, my husband's face. I couldn't get it. I don't know how she did it, but she sent it back to me, the photo and the painting, and she'd drawn on the painting, what was different. It beats me how you do that. Right. But it was so helpful to me to see someone else's eyes on that. Many times I like to do what they're doing so I can learn a new technique or something, but sometimes I need their help.
Right.
You were talking about a critique is what it winds up being in a class.
Yes.
And in the watercolor class, we did do critiques. And in fact, Tom, I don't think really wanted to do critiques when he started with the last go-around. But we encouraged him to do that, and he started, and he did a good job. The critique is when the teacher does have the opportunity to point out some things, hopefully positive. It's nothing to bring people down with. In fact, it's certainly a time to bring people up.
Well, and you don't have to be critiqued if you don't want to. I mean,
we brought our paintings in every week and put them up front, and then that was the first thing that the teacher was able to do, and then we moved on to the class. So there is a standard, at least there was in the watercolor class, to do that, and it is an opportunity for the teacher to be encourage and point out things that they might not have been able to see.
Or even people from the class sometimes.
Oh, they do that too.
There
right.
are people, and I found it was very interesting. It's not necessarily the best painters that have the best eye for critique.
Absolutely.
Some people that are struggling a little more with their painting often have the keenest eye. And I wonder if maybe that holds them back because they see too much. But anyway, it's maybe their expectations are a little bit too high yet. But they have a goal then. But I think the best thing about LifeQuest art classes is that everyone is so accepting, everyone's so helpful, everyone has struggled. And the people, Sam Carruthers was, he's not with us anymore, but he was the most wonderful man, and he He was in every art class.
And his art was so out of the box. It was
Crazy.
empowering,
Crazy.
empowering for everybody in the room, no matter what they did.
And when he passed
Yeah.
away, I could not believe the number of people wrote, I wouldn't be doing art if it weren't for Sam's encouragement.
Yeah.
And I think that what we get out of art and all of LifeQuest, but art at LifeQuest in particular, is not just the learning of the product. It's the emotional and social
It's the community.
The social aspect.
And I know when I first started, my husband was beginning the downward spiral that led to his passing. And I was trying to be a sole caregiver, quite unsuccessfully. And I was really on the brink of some sort of a breakdown, but I didn't realize it. And the support that I got from the class got me through that, literally. And I don't think I could have made it without LifeQuest, because people had been there, or they were just compassionate, even if they hadn't been there. But it was just such a tough time in my life. And to have this outlet and this place of people who were so accepting and so kind and doing great art, you know? I mean, it was stimulating me in other ways, and it just took me out of my
Brought joy.
that place, brought joy into a part of my life
hard
that was
time,
kind of
I think
not.
you've shared that with other people. You and Mary Shea both have helped people form friendships. Like, helped me form friendships within the group. It's not just, like you say, not just about the product.
No.
But there's
Yeah.
been relationships formed, and you really helped that happen.
Oh, thanks.
And I want to say a word, it's not
Payback is
exactly
really
art
important.
class, but we also did a class called The Artist Way, which is a book study on the creative process. And even for people, you know, some people, and I almost may be this, creative, but not necessarily so artistically talented. And so I have a desire to make something, I just often can't. But the book and the process that we did in this class, which was, like I say, a book study, and then we had writers as well as visual artists. So it was really an interesting mix of people, photographers, to look at how you create and why you create and what creating means to you. That's not just the finished product. It is the process that gets you to the product that brings you joy.
Yes.
And I really speak to the myriad way that LifeQuest brings art into your life as a really important thing. The art history classes, as someone that was science-based, never took anything that was not science in my whole education. I sometimes cringe at what I don't know. But to be exposed to people that are really knowledgeable about art history and different artists to present to us has been super. I wish I could remember all the amazing things I've learned.
Well, you know, I get the impression, as you all are talking, that within LifeQuest there is an art community. And it makes me wonder, someone like me, I've never taken an art lesson in my life, would I be welcome if I should?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. That was me 8 years ago. And still not a great artist, but still love the process. Denise is a great artist, but I love the process. I love playing with the color. I love every once in a while getting it right. All those things make me happy. And so for that reason, and the opportunity to try all things, because I don't come saying I love watercolor, because I don't know watercolor. I try all things.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a little brainstorming before we wrap up here.
Okay, I just want to do a quick commercial. This summer, I'm teaching a class online that is for people who are thinking about doing art. No supplies are needed. It is just a discussion of art supplies and what it would cost and what your options are for different levels of commitment. So if you are a very beginner and you just want to dabble, and I'll have worked out by then how much it would cost and
what you should go
and
get.
what you should go get, and give you a hint about where you can get it for the best price. And I think that's what one of the things that LifeQuest does best is get people to try something new.
Try something new. Because
Well, and thinking about the future,
Yes.
are there other kinds, other forms of art that you can see might become part of the curriculum in the future at LifeQuest?
Sure.
You've just added, apparently, a sculpture, correct, within the
Right.
last
yeah.
Sculpture, pastel.
Couple of years, yeah.
pastels? That's new. I don't know, are there,
We've talked about mixed media. That's the one that
Yeah.
we have,
We would like-
because,
Actually, we had that mixed media class on Thursday for a long time. That was just kind of a walk-in and.
in the morning, the
and-
water media.
Yeah, water media.
Mixed
on
media
Thursday.
also-
And I went to that class too.
I would really
because I
like
could
mixed
finish
media.
up my painting
Yeah,
from Wednesday.
We're working on that. What our limitation,
Jenny,
Jenny, was thinking
and
of,
time.
sometimes mixed media, like it comes in wheelbarrows worth of stuff,
Yeah.
right? You know, all the things you can mix the media about. You know, you have your different papers that you could be using in your project, your stencils, all your different media supplies.
Well, it becomes an all-inclusive class, though. If somebody is taking acrylic, for instance, and they've got acrylics, they can come to that class
Sure.
and paint.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The next
No.
person next to them would have watercolor and be doing watercolor. So
But-
it makes it all-inclusive and
I
a
do
place to paint.
I do the card making,
Sure.
paper craft class, and I've often thought about how can I combine
Right,
the artistic element in the art classes
right.
with the.
And it's mainly using those
Tons of
papers
paper.
and kind of collage with stencil and
I love
painting
that.
all at once.
Yeah.
I want to mention, excuse me, one thing. I'm an instructor, and that's nothing special, but I am the watercolor instructor who will be teaching in the fall. The joy that I get from being an instructor at LifeQuest is directly related to what happens when you see the students paint paintings that are improved or are better than what they've been doing or what I've known them to do in the past when I taught before. And so there's really a great deal of really personal pleasure for me to work with students and to get some feedback from them in the form of better paintings. Nan, you had a painting, I believe, that was selected for the Mid-Southern Watercolor Show. Is that correct?
Well, I am a signature painter. I've had 3 accepted to the
Good for you.
You
Good
have to
for
have
you.
3 to be a signature painter, so
Right,
I can
right.
say that barely.
Well,
Just barely.
I'm a so-called diamond signature member.
Yeah, I know,
and,
you've had 5
you
then
have to
or
have
more.
5
Yeah.
to get
Woo.
that. So I'm.
Well, that points out the caliber of the
Right.
teachers we have.
well, it
Right.
certainly does.
And Nan has also taught watercolor sometimes when Tom hasn't been available. And I have also, building on what Tom, I'm responsible for getting teachers for some of the classes. And the feedback I get from the teachers is exactly the same as Tom's. They're thrilled to teach. They love the type of people that come to the classes and their enthusiasm and their willingness to try things and their ability to listen if they can hear. But I've had at least one of them tell me that his work improved as a result of having to think about explaining how he paints to do his demonstration. So it can help the teacher as well. It's not totally one-sided at all.
And the social aspect that we talked about a
social.
little bit ago, there is from the watercolor class, there's a group of women, about 10 to 12, that go to lunch on a monthly basis. So, and we've become closer,
Well, and we
closer
had that
friends.
with the
yeah.
oil class and the, that's, okay. That's different. Yeah, we've had that as well. We would get together and
Right.
paint in between
About the-
semesters.
About the instructors is that so many of them are so generous with their time. They're not.
Yes.
I mean, all of them are, but some of them are still working a career, and they make
Yes.
time for this. That's how much love they have for it.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback on what Tom said, just the joy, the relaxation and joy that you get out of painting, when you finish and you look at it and you think to yourself, did I really do that? It's such a pleasing feeling.
Well,
gives you.
This has been for me a very enlightening session. I've learned an awful lot, and I thank you all for coming. Anybody have any final words?
Well, thank you for moderating.
Oh,
Yes.
well, thank you. My pleasure.
Great job. You ought to look into that as a career.
That's an idea.
And I am Lindy Harrell, the Executive Director of LifeQuest. I want to thank each one of you for just being a small representation of what this artist group is. I mean, just your honesty, vulnerability, y'all just, I appreciate that. And I thank the artist. Tom, I thank you for the many years that you have volunteered for LifeQuest. And Mary Shay, thank you. I appreciate you and all that you contribute. And Anne, as being the leader of our curriculum committee, I just want to thank you. And I know that your passion is art, and you just continue to expand on this program, and I thank you for that. And Denise, thank you for joining us today. And Denise has just sampled everything, and hopefully you'll continue to sample as they bring new classes to us. And Jenni, you too. I mean, just, it's amazing that the online program has just challenged you to reach out, you know, and try something that you would never try before. But I also cannot let us end without remembering our dear instructor, Bill Fulton.
Oh, yes.
Who taught drawing for many, many years and was part of this community.
Well, Lindy, I want to say about Bill, because I took a drawing class, of which, I mean, if you want to talk my weakest thing, because there's no color in drawing, gosh, I love color. So it was drawing, and so I took the first drawing class here, and it was, we spent the whole week drawing a circle in some kind of cube. I don't know. So then we come to Bill Fulton, was the next guy that came and taught. And Bill Fulton was all about how to make it work, which is speaking my language. You know, you got something you need to get on that piece of paper and you don't do perspective, let's figure out how to make it work. And he was the most, he was just magic about empowering you.
He'd also do magic tricks.
Right, yeah, he was magic too. But empowering you or figuring out a way that your skills could get done what needed to be done. He was just such a gift.
Yes.
I want you to know I'm constantly telling my retired friends about LifeQuest, trying to, you know, get them interested, you know, say, well, I don't have anything to do. Well, come to LifeQuest.
Thank you. And you know, that's the neat thing about LifeQuest is that we have existed by word of mouth. And it's a hidden gem that we are trying to branch out into the community so that more people will be able to be engaged and find their own community in the later years of life. So thank you. I appreciate that. So.
I want to thank you for all that you did to keep it going during the pandemic.
yes.
For me, it was a lifeline to be able to take the classes.
All the staffs, yes.
It was definitely a team effort, and over the past year and a half, we have our strengths pulled this program together and made it what it is today. And I refer to us as the dream team. You know, I don't want any of them to leave. We just love working together, and we're truly friends, and that's what makes it special. So, but thank you guys.
Thank you.
David, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay.
It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, good job, guys.